And before Mr. DeCoudreaux delivers the commencement address, I would just like to add a few additional words of introduction. Over the years, she has held numerous honorary and leadership roles here on the IU Bloomington campus. She has offered unswavering support for the betterment of the university. She is a member of the Academy of Law Alumni Fellows, which is the highest honor bestowed upon alumni of our Michael Mauer School of Law. Mr. DeCoudreaux generously established a scholarship within the school to support outstanding women pursuing law careers. And she served for a lengthy period on the board of the Indiana University Foundation and now serves among its emeriti directors. It will be a privilege to hear her message today. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Alecia DeCoudreaux.
Thank you, President McRobbie, and greetings to the trustees, Provost Rebell, distinguished guests and colleagues, and to all of you, today's graduates, and your families and friends. We need to give another special shout out to the parents and families here today. They've loved you and supported you, and of all the gifts possible for one person to give to another, there is none more profound than the gift of education. Let's have another round of applause for all the parents and families. I am genuinely honored that this extraordinary institution has asked me to deliver these remarks. In fact, I had to read President McRobbie's letter twice before I could take it in. For the first time I read the invitation, I thought, who, me? Right on the heels of feeling so honored came another powerful feeling, dread. After all, I wondered, what could I possibly say that would inspire or teach or guide all of you after you have spent years being taught and guided by such intelligent, innovative, and inspirational faculty members? You might be surprised that I worried about talking to you. You might assume that as a lawyer, it is easy for me to go on talking about anything or nothing virtually forever. Well, actually, you're right. I could do just that, and some would say I have been doing that since I was 6 years old. In many ways, it seems, I was born to be a lawyer. I knew from a very early age that was what I wanted to do, and I'm happy and proud to say I did it. That seems like a pretty straightforward path to accomplishment, doesn't it? I wanted to be a lawyer. I studied hard. I was admitted to the law school here in Bloomington. I became a lawyer. End of story. But, as you may have noticed, I am speaking to you today not as a lawyer, but as the president of Mills College, a superb liberal arts college for women in Oakland, California. Maybe the story is not so simple after all. And that's really all I want you to remember of this talk today. On this day when your heads and your hearts are so full of glee, hope, apprehension, and plans, maybe the story of a life is not so simple after all. Maybe it cannot and should not be told as a journey from point A to point B, with a straight line between those points being the goal. I know that things might not look so appealing from where you're sitting. After all, the news from beyond IU is often grim. The economy is struggling, the job market is weak, and you may dread ending up back in your childhood bedroom sometime in the next year or two. So it would be natural for you to think you need to know exactly what the right job is for you, and that once you find it, you should cling to it for dear life. And given how important that job seems to be, it would be natural for you to assume that there's only one of those exactly right jobs, and that you'll be in competition with all of the people you see sitting around you today for that same job. Well, that sounds like a daunting prospect to me, especially because most of the jobs in today's economy might not exist in 5 to 10 years. And some studies suggest that most of you will have 5 to 7 careers in your lifetime. But truly, that's the good news. Who you are shouldn't be defined by a job, even the most seemingly perfect one. You have many facets and many interests, and in your life, they will come together in different combinations. Let me illustrate with some examples from my own life. I came to Bloomington for law school back in 1976, 10 days after I graduated from Wellesley College. I was a young woman with a plan. I knew just where I was going and how to get there. IU had a fine reputation and an accelerated program that would allow me to complete my law degree in 2 calendar years. I didn't give any thought to what it would be like to actually be here. I didn't think being anywhere was particularly important. I was on my way to becoming a lawyer, and IU seemed like a reasonable step along the way, so that's where I fixed my gaze. But when I was on my way to Bloomington, I made a mistake. Remember, this was in the days before GPS and Google Maps, so I turned off 465 on US 31 from Indianapolis instead of 37. That took me on a route through a great deal of picturesque countryside. Now, I was an impatient Chicago city girl, so I registered it as lovely, but really I just thought it was in the way. I was ready to get to Bloomington and dive into my law studies. What did I care about the fields along this windy 2-lane road? Then I passed through a town called Gnaw Bone. That's G-N-A-W-B-O-N-E. I tell you, that name and the little town I zoomed through gave me pause. Well, really, gave me pause doesn't do justice to what I felt. In fact, I began to cry. What had I done by choosing Indiana University for law school? I was going to be stuck in the middle of nowhere for 2 years. And once the snows came, this dinky little 2-lane road was going to be impassable. Gnaw Bone didn't seem like a reasonable step on the way to becoming a hotshot lawyer. It didn't sound like a place I might want to stop and explore. In fact, it never occurred to me to stop and explore. I was on my way somewhere, and Gnaw Bone sounded like a dead end to me. You know people like this, right? Some of you, maybe all of you high-achieving types, are people like this. You're busy, you're focused, and you're not always aware of what's happening around you unless it's either helping or hindering you in the path you're on. You wave to people as you cross campus, but you say, "I can't stop. I'm on my way to the library." Your head down while texting. Or some friends invite you to Nick's for a stromboli, but you're on your way to work, so you say, "Maybe later." You were really intrigued by that class in stagecraft, but it wouldn't help you complete your major in chemistry, so you didn't take that detour. In the same way, passing through the town of Gnaw Bone made me think that my time in Bloomington was going to be just a detour, and that my goal was to zoom through my legal studies, get out and get on the road to my real life as soon as possible, because real life was going to be somewhere else. It didn't quite happen the way I'd envisioned it, however. It might look like it happened that way. After all, I did become a lawyer, and I worked for the same company for over 30 years. But that's not the real story. That's the bare outline. Because while I was working for Eli Lilly, I had many different jobs, and each new job took me further away from the law career I had envisioned for myself. At one point in my career, I moved from the legal department to corporate affairs, not entirely by choice. Sometimes when your employer offers you a new position, you really have to say yes, or you might not be asked again. So I said yes, in large part because I was excited about working with the person who would be my new boss. That person left the company before I had even moved to start my new job. So much for well-laid plans. But to my surprise, I found that I liked my new position and my new boss, a bright young man named Mitch Daniels. The same skills I had honed in law school were the skills I needed to accomplish in my new work. Analytical thinking, problem solving, clear communication, and ability to work with and through other people. These are all the things you have had the opportunity to learn here at IU, and they are the most valuable skills you could possibly have. If you are looking for what some call a return on your educational investment, then this is where you look. If you have the ability to think critically, then your time at IU has been worth every penny, because the content of your job is going to keep changing, and you are going to have to keep pace with that change. It's not about what you know, it's about how you learn. And keeping pace with that change, taking advantage of the opportunities that present themselves to you, may seem at first to be a detour from the path that you want to be on. But these seeming detours may turn out to be the path you want to be on. Maybe that sounds too zen to you, too much like something a visitor from California would say. But in fact, it's something I first began to learn for myself the day I passed through that town called Gnaw Bone, when this then 21-year-old compulsive planner was startled into being present in my life. And by being present in my life, I mean not being too busy looking ahead to notice and enjoy where I was. Because really, that's what your task in life is, to enjoy it, to do good work, to be a good friend and sibling and child, and eventually perhaps a parent, to make a positive difference in your community. Yes, all of those things too. But you have to figure out how to enjoy it, how to play in the byways as you pursue your goals, how to nourish your sense of beauty and joy even as you achieve what you set out to do. If you don't enjoy your life, it won't matter what you achieve. And here's how it worked for me. My time in Bloomington turned out to be about more than law school. First, I found myself charmed by the city and a Big Ten university. I went to my first IU basketball game, and I, who was not then and am not now particularly a sports fan, screamed myself hoarse. I wore red, I jumped up and down. I went to the opera, and who knew Bloomington even had opera? I went to hear jazz and folk at the Jacobs School. I found professors who were top-notch legal scholars and talented teachers and mentors. I learned to see the extraordinary architectural beauty of the limestone buildings on campus, and the natural beauty in the quarries and in the springtime blooms for which the city is named. I learned how to shoot pool. That one might surprise you. I suspect that at the time, I thought of all of these as detours from my real task and my real path through life. I see now, though, that they were my real life, and they still inform who I am today. For here, in Bloomington, I learned to slow down sometimes. I learned to listen just a bit more than I talked. I took time to be silly, to wear red and jump up and down, to explore what I care about in life. I made friends who are still vital to my life. I think it was Gnaw Bone that started the whole thing, because Gnaw Bone made me think about how I was getting where I was going and what I was spending my energies on along the way. Gnaw Bone made me realize that a plan is not reality and that you don't always know where you're going to end up. As a result, I have always nurtured other passions alongside my commitment to my work. I have avoided sacrificing too much of myself to achieve only a too narrow goal. As an example, my passion for education, particularly educational opportunities for women and girls, led me to many years of service to Wellesley College, of service to Indiana University, and to a number of organizations that support the success of women and girls. My volunteer service and my philanthropy in support of these organizations have enriched my life considerably, and they have also brought me new opportunities. In fact, they have brought me to my position as president of Mills College, which is a better dream than my 6-year-old baby lawyer self ever had the audacity to dream. And that's important. My dreams changed and grew because of the relationships I forged in each of my endeavors. My friends and colleagues helped me to expand my dreams. So if there is something you want to do, I encourage you not to keep it to yourself. For whatever you do, you surely will not do it alone. And even if you think you know your path forward from this beautiful place today, let yourself be distracted so that your path, or really your many paths, may find you. Now, I'm not telling you that goals are unimportant or that you shouldn't set your sights on them. After all, a certain amount of goal-directedness is what got you here to your commencement day, and what got me here, trying to give a speech that's appropriate to this so very important occasion in your life. As you commence today to the next step of your journey, I want to leave you with something I hope is even better than a goal. Gnaw Bone. Gnaw Bone is your clue that when you're lost, you often find something wonderful. What feels like a dark and confusing byway may lead you to discover new parts of yourself and new uses for your skills. Just as Gnaw Bone led me to IU, and IU has led me, by a rather circuitous route, to the presidency of Mills College, so too will your Gnaw Bones, your byways, your mistakes. The unexpected detours that appear before you may lead you to the many different paths in life that are best suited to your talents and your passions. You may think you're on the way someplace you have to go, but you may instead end up somewhere you hardly dared to dream of being. Graduates, I wish you great luck wherever your journeys take you, and I hope they include your share of Gnaw Bones. Thank you very much.